Okay, the recording has started. Yeah.
Thank you. So let me just share my screen. Good evening once again to everyone. So let me just share my screen first. Okay, so today we are going to discuss a little bit on the latest database release, which is 26 AI. But well, today I think okay, I was basically hoping to discuss few um, sections on the improvements or the enhancements that you find in this version of the database. And we will not go into hands-on today. One, of course, I couldn't set my environment up as well. And then I thought other thing was to go through the slides first so that we can carry out few hands-on exercises probably in the next class. So this is a huge topic actually, because when it comes to these latest versions, there are immense amount of features or new features, enhancements that had been added to the previous version of the database. So, so this is not the comprehensive list that we are going to discuss about, but some important areas that we might be able to use, right? Especially within our context of learning. Because we here our objective is to give you some fundamentals, a fundamental guide basically to improve your database skills. Right. So without taking much time, let me just run through my presentation first. I'm just putting it to the presenter mode. So a little bit on Oracle Database AI 26 AI. So now our Oracle database is called the AI database, and few things to note here. As you could see, let me just on my point option as well. Okay. So, so when it comes to database versions, you might have seen that some of these database versions are made as innovative versions, and some of them have long-term versions or long-term releases as well. So this 26 AI is a long-term release. So, so when it comes to a long-term release of a database, generally you will have 5 years of premier support. Right, so error corrections, bug fixes, everything will be there in within that Premier support. So from the day it was released, up to 5 years minimum, or it could be a bit, I mean, more than that as well. But for now, we will understand that as 5 years of Premier support will be there. And then later on, you will also have 3 or more years of extended support. Oracle might decide whether this should be extended or not. That's a different story. But for now, this is what we have to understand if it is a long-term release. So generally, users or the end users are encouraged to use long-term releases so that the sustainability of that particular product version is there. Right. So if you just come across to this particular diagram, you can see the latest long-term release, which is 26 AI, which basically goes till okay, here this is the 2031. So 2031 December, up till such time, you will have a premier support. So PS stands for premier support. No extended support period has been mentioned as yet, but generally it will be 3 years from this point onwards. Right now, if somebody had been using Oracle 23 version, and 23 version was not really available or made available on on-premise environment, but recently in January, Oracle released its first 26 AI version on-prem as well. So if you had been let's say a cloud customer running 23 version, we learned about release updates before. So some time back, we learned about what a release update is. So a release update is none other than a patch, right? So this, if you are already running 23 version, So the release update 26 of the same, right, will actually bring you to 26 AI. So if you have been a cloud customer running 23 AI version, having applied the RU patch of 26 will take you to directly to 26 AI. So there is no major version upgrade required, right? There is no testing certification is required as well, because it is going to be just another a patch that you are applying. Okay. And for on-prem users, of course, now we have the downloadable installation binaries, right? So the downloadable installation binaries will come as 23.26.1. That's the first release of the 26 AI. So therefore, when you check your if you go to the download site, then you would find that what is available now is 23.26.1. Now with that, Oracle has replaced the version 23 AI. So there's no more 23 AI database software available. We call now that as the AI 26, right? Or 26 AI database. Now, another important change that you find here when it comes to, let's say, a fresh install. Generally, what you have to do is you have to first download the base release. Now, suppose as an example, if you had been using 19C, the base release was called as 19.3. So you download 19.3, and if there is a requirement of now 19.30 release update is available. So what you have to do is you have to first download the base release, and then you have the 19.30 release update that has to be applied on top of the base release to make it 19.30. Whereas with 26 AI, you directly get the gold image. Now, you can see today, if you go to the download site, you'll find 23.26.1 available. Let's say later on, maybe in 3 months down the line, you get another update, right? If you get another update in your download page, hopefully you would find 23.26.2 directly available. So which means if you're doing a new install, you don't need to first have a base installation done and then have the release update done on top of it. It's not required, right? So directly the gold image can be used because the gold image consists of all the patches as of that time, right? So patches, if you are aware of the OJVM, now when you take OJVM, it's another bundle patch on Oracle Java virtual machine that you have to apply in the event if you're using Java components in your database. So it's a different, just like your release update, it's a different installation. But with the 26 AI, it is no more a separate install, but it comes bundled in with the release update that you're going to have. Okay, so these are some of the changes that you find within the 26 version. And then we also have the strategy defined by Oracle in terms of the AI databases. So what Oracle is trying to achieve here, or what Oracle has achieved, is basically bringing data to AI. Right? So, or rather, AI to data. That's the right wording. So what Oracle does it now, database is a place where you store your data. Obviously, Oracle had been very popular in keeping relational data in it, but now Oracle talks about converged database technology. When I say converged database technology, that means it's not just relational data, but the possibility of holding structured data, which is relational probably, then semi-structured data like XML, JSON, right? And also unstructured data, right? Be it in, there is something called as graph database. Right? So you have graph data, You may have spatial data, right? Geolocation indications. So all these things now can be stored within the same database. So now you don't need to rely on specified or specialized databases to hold each of these data types. Now we talk about vectorization. So vector data types are also available within the Oracle database, so that any data that you want to store, you don't need to go for different types of databases, but instead you can use the same database to hold all these types of data. So when when you have the support to store any kind of data in a single data store, in a single database, then introducing AI is going to be much easier because the data will not move from one location to another. So if you can introduce AI on top of this data, which is in the same place, right? You don't need to send it to maybe a third-party cloud provider or public cloud, but everything is there in your database. And if you bring in the AI layer on top of the data that you already have, it makes it a perfect solution, right? So that is the journey of Oracle. Anyway, all these content which I talked about is readily available in our AI database structure. Okay. So moving on to the next slide. Now, AI databases are next-gen AI native databases, right? So, which means, as I told you before, it basically has that capability of bringing AI to a central location where you have all the types of data. So it has that capability of storing vector data types or vector data. And in a hybrid fashion, I will be talking about the hybrid, what exactly is hybrid later on. And it has actually now brought AI in the form of DB functions, such as the database management, right? I'm talking as an example. Now, this has that capability of managing or implementing and managing indexes automatically. So this feature was introduced in 19C actually. So it's an evaluation or sorry, evolving kind of a implementation. But anyway, it had been there since 19C, managing indexes automatically. Now we have that capability of introducing automatic partitioning. So transparently, if Oracle sees that there is a benefit of introducing a partition table instead of using a normal heap table, then it has the capability of introducing these partitions also. I mean, making the table partition, right? And another example would be introducing the automatic materialized views. So if there is a performance gain, let's say a significant gain, which Oracle will decide, we can influence that also. So then there'll be new materialized views added and maintained automatically in your database. So there is no manual intervention at all in order to have this done. So that is all bringing in AI to, I mean, it's just a small example which I took on your database management perspective. And then for analytics, right? And for application development, there are ample of features that we can talk about that gets the involvement of AI. And then it also has that agentic AI framework, which the users or the developers can leverage, and various embedding models. And then you have built-in LLMs as well. And you also have the capability, or Oracle has that capability of bringing in, let's say, specific LLMs into the database as well in the format of Onyx. Right? So it's an open standard. And if there is a LLM that needs to be introduced to your data, and it is not natively available within that Oracle database, you can convert that into Onyx format and then simply import that to your Oracle database. So all these things are part of this AI strategy of Oracle. And then we also have, comes to AI version, 26 AI now, has more than 300 new features and over 1,000 number of enhancements. Okay, this is at a very high level how the database would look like now, right? So the specific advanced uh, data types such as JSON, spatial, vector type data, and along with the conventional relational data, they're all available now within your Oracle database, right? And additionally, the capabilities like AI, ML, so they're all available within this database. And from tools perspective, right, MCP is something new that people talk about. And we also have development environment or interfaces and the capability now of running the database anywhere you want, right? So previously, up until January, we didn't have an AI database readily available on premise. Now with the announcement, and of course, now it's available to download as well. You have the Linux or you have your AI database that can be downloaded and installed in your own maybe machine as well. Okay. Right. So when you say anywhere, Oracle has that capability of running the database within other data centers of GCP, Azure, and AWS as well. Right. Okay, so we are now moving towards the features or top function or top features that that you may be able to see within the database or AI database. So since 23 AI was a database AI was replaced by 26, right? Now, whatever the topics or the features that you're talking about here may be even applicable for 23, a previous version as well. And of course, as I said before, they are all evolving offerings. So whenever a new release update comes, maybe there you might be able to see enhancements as well. Okay. Right, coming back to the automatic, okay, first topic here, automatic caching of external tables. So you might be aware of external tables. So external tables actually do not sit or do not have data residing inside the database, right? So they may be residing in, let's say, on CSV formats. So, or there are other supported formats as well, Parquet, right? Such as that. And also an important thing is the iceberg tables or Apache iceberg tables. So it's a very, popular type of external storage capability. So the data resides on maybe external files, but Oracle can provide an interface and then you can create what we call external tables. And that gives kind of an interface to retrieve data from those underlying files as if they are stored in your tables. So you have a table, but the table doesn't have data. Whenever you retrieve data, the data will be retrieved from the underlying files. So that's the concept of external tables, right? Now with this, new feature, including iceberg tables, you can have your data residing in different formats. And you also have that flexibility of doing fine-grained access and cache control. As an example, now sometimes maybe you might need to decide on filtering, maybe for due to some sensitivity. You don't need to fetch data from all the columns that you have in those files. Maybe you have to limit the number of files, right? So likewise, we can decide whether you want to take all the data into your external tables, right? Or show them in the external tables, or whether you want to show partially as well. So I'm referring to caching. So you can cache them at a very fine-grained level rather than just keeping everything in the cache. And you also have, when you're caching, you have policy-based caching as well as automatic caching. So if you want Oracle to manage the entire life cycle, meaning you have to create what we call external table cache, right, for those tables and create the cache and then loading, identifying the files, loading the files, and then maybe filtering out the files, and then also dropping the files if they are not needed to be viewed, right? All these things are automatic. So that's the life cycle that I was talking about under automatic management. At the same time, if you want to have your control over the file selection, over the creation of the cache, and then how would you like to load them? What is the way that you need to filter them? So if you want to have such control over the population and the refreshing of your data that resides in your external table cache, right? Then you can uh, create policies as so that means you have a better control over the life cycle of your cache. Right? So for that you use API called DBMS ext table cache. Right? So when you have your content in cache, obviously you don't need to perform IO on your disks, right? Because files, I was talking about the external files, they reside in on disks, right? So time it spends in order to read the content from disks will be pretty much slower than that of what you have in your memory. Right? So if you have external table caches available, then the accessibility will be significantly high. So this is something important to know. Okay. Right. So similarly, we also have what we call a true cache, right? Now, when I say true cache, it is not fake cache, it is true cache. So the meaning of true cache means the data at real time will be available in a external, or let's say in a separate cache instance, right? We call it the true cache instance. So this true cache instance might be residing in the database itself, or it could be in a different location as well, right? It could be in your application server. It could be on a different, a VM or something like that. So you can have your true cache configured in a different environment also. Uh, so then what happens is that you can define what to be cached, right? So the data that you retrieve, right, will be first cached onto this true cache. And each time, right now, this true cache, what are the content that you have in the true cache is read only, right? So whenever you make a read request, it can be simply derived or taken from the cache that you have, right? So in the event, if there is a write request, the write request will directly go to the database, right? And the most important thing is that in case if there is a change that had occurred on the blocks of data on the database itself, then obviously we know the changes will be captured through redo log files, right? Generally in a database. So when these changes be captured, these changes will be propagated from the redos to the true cache as well. That's the most important or significant thing here. So that the blocks will be made real time, right? So, so if you really compare these with the normal middle tier caches like Redis or Memcache, right? So it is completely different from this particular cache. That is why we call it a true cache, because the updates happen real time on the cache itself, okay, through the redo apply mechanism. Right? So, so the other thing is that yes, of course, the blocks have to get committed. Changes that you're on that are on flight, right? Or it's not when they're not committed, those will not be reflected on the true cache. But each time when you do a commit, right, redo will go and update the blocks that are on the true cache to make it real time. Okay, so at any given time, the content in the true cache will be read consistent. Okay, so that's that. So this true cache can accommodate not just normal relational data, but it also supports JSON, text, spatial. So you name it. So your true cache can accommodate all these types of data. So that's an important thing to understand. So for when it comes to scaling, right, true cache can actually extend towards your SSD disks as well. So in the form of having more uh, memory space, so it can leverage fast disks to act as memory as well if that is required. In addition to that, when you are configuring your true cache, so you'll be creating true cache, and then you need to figure out what type of data that you want to cache. So when you're configuring this, you can set you can be based on different services. Or let's say, for example, you have a HR service in your database, maybe, or let's say, okay, let's say HR, just HR. So for HR, you can create true cache. So whenever you fetch your schema data from HR, then those are the ones that will be recognized and cached. So you can do a scalability, we can scale as well by introducing more true caches and uh, resolving to the same HR service. So you can have scalability increased by adding many true caches by combining them with the services or database service, right, that you want to leverage. So it's another important feature which we will come across in your AI database. Another important thing is the lock-free reservable columns. There are different meanings or not meanings, ways that how Oracle define this. But anyway, end of the day, what is important is to understand what advantage this brings in. Now, when you talk about reservable columns, what happens here is that, let's say, even I mean personally, I have so much of experience on certain customers where let's say you want to update a quantity, right? Order quantity as an example. So when you do a quantity update, right, maybe you have to do a certain additional work as well in order to complete this entry, right? So when a quantity update has been issued, right, if it is an update to a particular record of a table, the particular column quantity maybe will be locked because you're updating that value in that row, right? So that row will be locked. And then since you have to do a certain additional set of work, the amount of time it takes to do the commit will be delayed. So if the commit time delay, if the commit time is delayed, obviously the rest of the transactions who want to do a quantity update or the sessions that you're talking about will be kept on hold, hanging until the first commit is complete. Right. So the introduction of reservable columns will help us in avoiding that. So what happens is that you can let this column or columns be recognized as reservable columns, and then you will be able to do these changes and the change track, as an example, let's say I have this quantity column and you are doing, in this particular example, what it does is it basically reduces a single quantity, right? You are placing an order, so you are reducing the quantity. So the quantity column is a reservable column. So you do a update to reduce it by 1. So when you reduce it by 1, let's say we had a quantity of 100, then it will become 99. But the user will not commit as at that time because he is not finished with his transaction. There are other processes or workflows that has to take place before he commits. So the next session or the second session, when he performs an update, right, rather than waiting for the first session to commit, his update will also proceed, right? But then what is important is behind the scene, Oracle has to keep a track of what is happening, for which Oracle creates what we call a journal table. So there will be a separate journal table that will be created, and that journal table will keep a track of the changes that are happening during that time. Okay. So what happens is now you made you had 100 in the table. The first session made a deduction of 1. Second session also made a deduction of another. Right? So if the first one finishes and he performs a commit, then that quantity will be shown as 99 because there was a reduction of one. And then later on, right, because the second session was also not waiting and he managed to do the update as well without getting without having a lock. So then second session, when he commits it, obviously that count will become, or the total availability will become 98. Right? So this is one way of implementing the reservable or using the reservable columns. The second thing is that you can also set a maximum limit. Now, in this example, I don't know whether you can see it. Here, there is a quantity check of 25. So the journal table will keep on updating and keep on tracking of what is the real quantity. So they are just doing two, right? But maybe more and more sessions will run this same query at in parallel, and then it might go up till about 20, let's say as an example. So up till 20, all these transactions are allowed. Up till 25 actually will be allowed. So likewise, we can set a threshold or upper limit as well, but so that is optional though. So you can just have a reservable column defined so that the general table will keep a track of the changes, right? So only at the commit time, the real change will get propagated. Okay, so that's a very important and a very useful uh, uh, option as well. But then what is important is you have to identify the reservable columns and you have to make them reservable as well. Another important fact to add here is that when you're making or when you're identifying reservable columns, you have to make sure that they are all numerics, right? So any data type which is numeric is supported in the when you're using this feature. And then now we have vector search. Again, vector search was initially introduced in 23. Now we don't have any 23 version available, right? So therefore, in our AI database or 26 AI database, one of the prominent features is the vector search. What happens is that generally when you're performing queries, we do syntax matching, right? So you give, let's say, a column name like city equals to Colombo. So it's a syntax matching that we are doing. But attribute matching, right? So so we call that as the semantics matching. So we never used to do that. So as an example, when I say, okay, get me larger animal, right? Then returning elephant or returning animal like giraffe, they are all semantics, right? So it's not really syntax. We didn't ask for a giraffe. We didn't specifically ask for an elephant. But when I say large animal, they might give us elephant. Right? So that's semantics. So attribute matching is something that is being made possible through vectorization. So in this vectorization, Oracle basically supports any data type. So be it structured, as I said before, relational types, unstructured, it could be images, it could be voice, it could be videos, right? And then a semi-structured like JSON data or XML type data. So all these things now can be vectorized. So when you are doing vectorization, you need to have some embedding model, right, that you have to use. We call it encoding, or we call it vectorization. So we use an LLM, large language model, to convert this into vector format. So vector format is a representation of numerics. So how many dimensions that you want to have, that can be decided, and that will basically decide the size of the vector value as well. Right. So we will talk in detail probably about this vectorization later on, but that's how it is, right? So this LLM that I'm talking about is by default available within the database as well. So we don't need to, if you really want, you can import, as I said before, an Onyx format of Onyx formatted LLM of your own, or maybe you can leverage the LLMs that are predefined or built in to the Oracle database, because that will be native. Okay. And then, yeah, so that is that. So once that is been done, whatever, let's say we have vectorized an image, that image's dimensions may be stored as attributes, will be stored in the vector data type column in your table. Right? And then once that is been done, then what you do is you want to query, right? You have to give your prompt. So the prompt that you enter will be undergoing through another LLM, so that the return value can be compared against whatever the stored values in your vector data column. Right? So rather than going for an exact match, what it would do is from the prompt returned maybe a value or vector value, you compare the distance between that value and the values that are already stored and available. So the least distant value or values will be the ones that are more accurate. So that is the whole process of you doing vectorization. So through vector search, this is what we are going to do. So we input our requirement. That is what we call the prompt. So in the prompt, once you give whatever you want, then it basically converts that into vector understandable, value through another LLM, and then that value will be searched throughout the vector column values that you have already stored. So through that, we'll be able to retrieve the values, right? Now, I remember once there was a kind of a demonstration which was carried out by Oracle. And let's say the scenario was like, okay, so you take photographs of certain apartments, certain houses, right? So then those were vector embedded, right? The images were taken and then converted into vector values and stored in the Oracle database. And then you perform a query. What is the query? The query says, get me the images or houses where it has, let's say, 2 bedrooms. So by analyzing the image, by analyzing the vector attributes, the outcome of the query would probably return houses that can assume to have 2 bedrooms, right? By just looking at the images of the apartment or apartments or tables. Right. So what is more about the vector search? Now, vector search obviously will be supplemented by introducing indexes. So there are various types of indexes available. Now, what is important here is the addition of a new hybrid vector index. Now, vector index, hybrid means ability to, now when I say hybrid computing or cloud computing hybrid, meaning you may have part of or partial workloads running on cloud, and the rest of the workloads might be running on premise. So that is hybrid. So similarly here, the hybrid vector index will be able to process, will be able to search through vectorized data as well as text data as well. So normal conventional data can be uh, accessed through this index as well, right? So one index serving both text normal values as well as vectorized data as well. So that is a new feature that you find in your AI database. Right. And then we have priority transactions as well. Okay, so again, this is somewhat similar to what I have discussed or what I have explained earlier in terms of column reservation. But here what we do is we can set maybe at a database level, the transaction priority. Now, by default, at the database level, the transaction priority will be set to high. So it will be equally treated, right? But in the event, if you want to really use this feature, I might probably set the transaction priority to low for all the sessions. That means for the entire database. So suppose I have set, this is a database parameter, setting the transaction priority to low. And then maybe for some transactions, I want to get it done regardless of being waiting. Right? So what you do is then when I start a transaction at my session level, right? At my session level, I set the transaction priority at the session level, maybe as an example, to high. Because by default, as I said before, it will be set to default in the sense when I change it at the system level, at the database level, I change it to low, and I need a restart to this database, by the way. And then once you have done, at session level, you can do, let's say you set it to high. So for a specific session, you have set your transaction priority to high. But then by default, because of the change that we did, for the other sessions, it will be low. So suppose you are doing an update and normal user or session is doing, so his transaction priority would be low. But then you have a high value set as well. So for a particular session or a specific session, and he also performs an update on the same record. Now, obviously, at the beginning, even though you have you have set the transaction priority to high in your session level, because of the earlier started update, you might be waiting as well. How long you want to wait? So that can be set using priority transaction high wait target. So this is the parameter that will define how long, how many seconds you want to wait, right, before letting this transaction to be rolled back. So which means that suppose you have set it to 1 minute. So session with a low priority transaction, right? He performs the update, but he did not commit. Now, for the last 30 seconds or so, a session with high priority is waiting until that low priority transaction commits or rollback, right? His particular transaction. Now, if you have set the priority transaction mode to rollback, right? So this should be rollback rather. So if you set it to rollback, then what happens? The moment it exceeds this 1 minute, which we set here, the low priority transaction will be rolled back, letting the high priority transaction to go and commit or go and update the change, update the table. Right? So that is what we call as priority transactions. So you have high priority and medium priority as well as high priority over low. Right? So always high priority will get the preference, and then the medium, and then of course, obviously the low as well. Okay, but if two sessions are performing the same update and they are all on the same priority levels, then they will be treated equally, which means suppose two sessions with medium priority, one initiates the transaction and he has not committed. Second session starts with the same medium priority. He also wants to do the change on the same record and he will be waiting. So his transaction will not be affected like that because both are using the same transaction priority levels. Right? So anything higher than that will be given the priority upon the time exceeds that you set in this parameter. Right. So that's about priority transactions, which is again a new feature that you find in your AI database. Another interesting thing is Select AI, where you can have a conversational, conversation basically with the data that you already have in your database. So the syntax is you use Select AI, and then you can use certain specific methods that what you really want to do, I've taken some examples here. First, you see the run SQL, then you show SQL is what you find here, which means when you type select, you have to start with select AI. It's an inherent or it's an inbuilt feature that you find in your database. And it basically goes and if I say run SQL, it will basically performs a normal statement. If it is a select state, if you select statement, in the sense here you can see what you're typing is in general English, right? What are our top 10 stream movies? So when you type this in normal English, plain English, it will be converted through a LLM and compared with whatever the data that you have here. And then it will be returning the normal, whatever the values, if you use run SQL. Show SQL will let you know the real SQL that got generated through the LLM. Right? And then explain SQL will basically will give you the logics of how this was built, how the SQL was built. And narrate will basically give you a conversational, not conversation, let's say in a detail, like a paragraph of what it thinks of the output. And then chat is basically the conversational model. It keeps on, giving you output, and then you can use your prompt to get various results based out of that. So the availability of Select AI was introduced in 23.7, as I was saying before. 23 became 26 when we had the release update 26 right here. Right? But this was introduced way earlier than that. From 23.7 onwards, we had the Select AI capability. So in order to use Select AI, obviously you need to incorporate your LLM. Again, you can make use of the native Oracle's LLMs if you want, or you can have your LLM support through a public offering as well. Like you can see quite a lot of LLM providers here. So you can make use of these as well. But in order to use one of these, you might have to, obviously you have to create what you call a LLM profile, right? So, you have to create a profile. The profile will determine what is the provider of LLM and how it could be accessed, right? But only thing is that if this LLM provider is sitting outside the database, maybe in a public environment, now public cloud, right? So your data might need to be gone through that public channel before you get the right results. Okay? But of course, you can make use of generative AI services which OCI provides. In that case, you don't need to send data outside because this is a native service that is attached to the database itself. All right, so I think we have completed our session here. I just wanted to, keep you posted on some of these interesting features. And I'm hoping to have another session done in order to do some hands-on demonstrations as well, in order to get you onboarded with these some of these new features. I don't think I can do demonstrations on everything, but let's say wherever possible, I'll try to create some use cases, some scenarios, and I will be able to demonstrate this to you. But then again, I was saying this before as well. This is a huge topic, right? So we won't be able to talk all the new features and all. Now there was another feature which they talked about having. We learned about container databases. So in container databases, if you want to have a disaster recovery site, you create another container database, and then you can you can replicate the entire container database to the disaster recovery site. But then now there is this feature where you can have a pluggable database replicating to a separate container database. and using active data well. So at any given time, your primary database, pluggable database, will be shipping changes to the standby PDB. Right? So from active PDB to standby PDB running on a separate container. So you can have read-only access to that. And in case if there is a a load problem, you'll be able to simply switch over to the secondary container database and let that PDB be used as a read-write database, sending data from that CDB to the original CDB's PDB. So likewise, so that was actually introduced from I think 21 onwards, but they've been evolved. So there are a lot more features that we will come across as well on these versions of the database. So so it's more of a theoretical session, right? But I hope this session was meaningful as well. However, and I hope that you managed to get some useful insights out of this. And probably it's not just about talking about the features, but the usability is also important. So in this level, right, what we try to do is we try to let you know what are the offerings that are there. So that will help you to probably do further research on these new features, new offerings, and you'll be able to figure out possible use cases for these feature usage, and then of course attempt use these features at least on a test basis and try to master them. And then of course those can be incorporated into your normal day-to-day activities as well. Okay, so I will stop the session now, in the sense, of course, it is open for the forum is open for questions if you all have.
Yeah, guys, if you have a question, you can ask. But I have multiple questions, but
MCQs
you
or
have a
no?
chance.
So Asiri, I think you can shoot.
Beg your pardon again, I didn't get you.
Yeah, sorry, you can ask the questions so that
Yeah. So again, not the question actually. So I think that newcomers for the database, they don't understand what is the host topic and what are the new features, because they didn't even know what are the features inside the database. So, but in this case, in this scenario, in this training, I mean, in this session, I have learned a lot, because I didn't go through 26 AI database yet can. But because when you're talking about few topics you are talking about, but some of topics are very very important to manipulate. But because you know that we are facing huge problems and huge bottlenecks throughout that role of contention. So there is a solution to that, because there is a tremendous features, but I don't know whether the newcomers don't know what is the burning point of NQs. So yeah, so those things are very very valuable things, but um, some people doesn't know the importance about this, because but I know that uh, you can gain this topics, and you can memorize in your memory, but ultimately once you work in the database industry, so you can apply that.
Correct. So I think Kasri, what you said is 100% correct. So that is why when I was really choosing the sections, choosing the topics to discuss, now when I talk about 26 AI, I can't leave out vector search, right? So it is one of the main components. So if I'm talking about new features, it is compulsory for me to talk about vector search. It is compulsory for me to talk about maybe JSON relation duality, which I did not discuss here. But but anyway, the thing is that, of course, they are a bit advanced, right? Probably, as you said, for a newcomer, getting onboarded to these features will be a bit tough. So I think what I feel is important is we'll pick a few of these, fundamental topics like the role of, problem that you were talking about. And probably in the next class, I will set up the demo environment and we will demonstrate so that people will understand. I mean, we don't need to take everything, but maybe one or two at least.
Because
So
again, for vector search, I have done a couple of use cases, because not only the pictures. So
yeah,
some major thing is they are comparing pictures, but for my side, I have vectorized the content. I mean, the content means the, if I say that we have a movie database, there is a caption for that movie databases for movies, but I have vectorized those data also. So
okay,
it is actually I don't know how they are. So I know that currently I know how they are getting that information, because you do know that multiple dimension go through that multiple dimension, and they keep the data with as a vectorization, because
yeah,
I will do that kind of a I will give you that movie database, movie tables. I think it will help you a lot, because I
sure,
have vectorized those data, so you can demonstrate those things, because not only this platform, you can widely share those information, because you are talking lot of peoples, and you can explain that thing. But I will share it with you again. So
sure, sure.
yeah, apart from that, I think there are few students in this course. They have done that vector search. Not the certification course is already done there, because I think it's sometimes they have give that chance to the others, because it was free. I
Yeah,
think it was in last year there was a free trainings.
yes,
So
correct.
some of them have done that vector search, not the certification. That course was done.
Of course. Okay.
Mm,
So I think for those, maybe this is a known topic as well.
mm, mm.
And then, yeah, I think unless otherwise from our side, we don't, we do the demonstration. I think some might not really get the real understanding of this. So let's try to focus. Maybe we can, you can share me that, the vectorized data with me so
Yeah.
we can demonstrate it.
Mm.
Along with that, we'll try to let them understood with the blocking,
Talking lots.
roll
Yeah.
ups. Yeah, so
Mm.
we'll try to demonstrate that as well,
Yeah.
probably next week.
Yeah. Also, again, that other guys. So you have a chance to ask question. Not even this session. You can ask any question throughout that what do you call WhatsApp group. So I didn't
Correct,
see
correct.
anybody so who asked the questions, because sometimes you might think that question might be stupid. Yeah, always you don't think like that, because you are students. Every question you ask might be stupid. No worries about it. But there is a thing that we can discuss about. So please ask questions. So we are not going to stop this in the March 15th, because March 15 is 6 months last days. But we can continue this. I think, and
Yep.
whatever we can
Thank you.
do. Yeah.
This is actually a service that we do. So we are willing to help others as well. So
Yeah.
quite okay to continue this. And I think actually we are in the process of some of building the Oracle user group also, right?
Yes.
So I
Yes.
think
Yes. Yes.
in that
Definitely, we
part
will do
as
that. Yes.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So with that we can probably meet physically as well if possible. And
Definitely.
yeah,
Within
yeah. So
next
we'll
week, we can do that again, because I am pretty busy on that. You know that there is some kind of a data. data something in
Yeah, I know. I know. I know the situation. So yeah, we'll get that thing sorted. I think some of our guys are also working on it.
Sorry, Gan, I
So
was so yeah. Go ahead, Gan.
yeah. So some of the MIT fellows are also there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So guys, if you have a question, you can ask. Kavidu, you can. If you have a question, Kavidu, are you there?
Yeah.
And if you
I
want,
don't have
if you
a
can.
quick thing. I don't have a question, but this is something I noticed. But when installing Oracle 26 AI, I ran into a error. I can't. Sorry, I can't remember the error. I couldn't even find the error. But when I searched that error at that time, what I found was 26 AI is only available for ODE and Exadata. Is that possible?
No, now from 26th of January, I think, I don't know when you have tested this. 26th of January, they released the on-prem version. Coming. You should be able to download and install now.
Oh, I'll check that.
Yeah, so it goes as 26, sorry, 23.26.1.
Yeah, I found it.
All right, so shall we wind up then, Asiri? Coming.
Okay. Then I think we can let me stop the recording and